At 21 years old, Marcus Reed was standing in front of a mountain of dirty dishes, wondering how his life had ended up here. The kitchen was hot. The floor was wet. The smell of grease filled the air. Orders were flying across the kitchen. Cooks were shouting. Servers were rushing through the narrow doorway. And somewhere in the dining room, customers were laughing over expensive meals. Marcus barely noticed any of it. He was focused on one thing: the sink. Wash, rinse, stack, repeat. He had been doing the same thing for nearly 6 hours. His hands were red from hot water. His shirt was soaked with sweat. His lower back hurt. And yet, as Marcus looked through the small opening between the kitchen and dining room, he didn't feel ashamed. He felt curious. He wanted to know how everything worked. Who decided which meals went on the menu? How much did the restaurant make in one night? Why did some customers come back every week? Why did some restaurants become successful while others disappeared after only a few years? Marcus didn't know the answers, but he wanted to, because Marcus had never wanted an ordinary life. He just didn't know yet how extraordinary his life could become. Marcus grew up on the south side of Chicago. His family didn't have much money. His mother worked cleaning offices during the day and sometimes took additional shifts at night. His younger sister was still in school. Their apartment was small, and money was often the subject nobody wanted to discuss at the dinner table. When Marcus was 12, he understood something most kids his age didn't. Money could disappear very quickly. A broken appliance, an unexpected bill, a missed paycheck. Suddenly everything became difficult. His mother never complained. She simply worked harder. Marcus watched her come home exhausted and still prepare dinner. He watched her count bills at the kitchen table. He watched her make sacrifices so her children wouldn't feel like they were missing anything. That stayed with him. By the time Marcus finished high school, he knew he needed to start earning money. College wasn't an option, at least not yet. He applied for warehouse jobs, delivery jobs, construction work, grocery stores, restaurants, anywhere that would give him a chance. Most places rejected him. One restaurant finally didn't. It was a small neighborhood restaurant called Tony's Grill. The manager looked at Marcus for less than a minute before asking him a simple question. "You ever wash dishes?" Marcus nodded. "Yes." "You mind working nights?" "No." "You mind working weekends?" "No." The manager pointed toward the kitchen. "Come back tomorrow at 4. That was it. No interview, no fancy application, no promise of a career, just a job washing dishes. Marcus accepted. His first shift was harder than he expected. The dinner rush started at 6. By 7, the kitchen was chaos. Plates arrived faster than Marcus could clean them. Pots were stacked 3 high. Servers complained that they needed clean dishes. Cooks complained that they needed clean pans. The manager complained that everyone was too slow. Marcus worked until his arms felt like they were going to fall off. When his shift finally ended, he stepped outside into the cold Chicago night. He was exhausted, but he smiled. He had made money. It wasn't much, but it was his. The next evening, he came back. Then the next. Then the next. After several weeks, something changed. Marcus stopped seeing the restaurant as just a job. He started seeing it as a machine. Every part of the restaurant had a purpose. The dining room attracted customers. The servers created the experience. The kitchen produced the food. The suppliers provided ingredients. The manager controlled schedules. The owner controlled the money. And Marcus realized something. The person washing dishes was standing closer to every part of the business than almost anyone realized. So he started watching. When the cooks prepared steaks, Marcus watched. When they made sauces, he watched. When deliveries arrived, he watched. When the manager counted inventory, Marcus watched. When customers complained, he listened. When customers praised a dish, he remembered it. He began asking questions. At first, the cooks found him annoying. "Marcus, you're supposed to wash dishes." "I know. So wash them." "I will. I just wanted to know how much that steak cost." The cook laughed. "Why?" Marcus shrugged. "Because someday I might need to know." Nobody took him seriously, but Marcus kept asking. One cook eventually decided to help him. His name was Daniel. Daniel had been cooking professionally for more than 15 years. One night, after the dinner rush, Daniel placed an onion on a cutting board. "You want to learn?" Marcus nodded. "Then learn properly." Daniel showed him how to hold a knife, how to position his fingers, how to make clean cuts. Marcus tried. The pieces were uneven. Daniel laughed. "That onion looks like it got attacked." Marcus smiled. "Show me again." Daniel did. Marcus practiced every night. Soon he learned how to prepare vegetables, then sauces, then chicken, then beef, then seafood. He learned how to season food, how to control heat, how to prepare ingredients before a rush. But Marcus didn't stop at cooking. He wanted to understand the business. He started carrying a small notebook. Every day, he wrote down something: food prices, menu prices, popular dishes, waste, customer complaints, employee schedules, anything he could learn. The notebook became his secret weapon. Marcus began realizing that restaurants weren't simply about food, they were about numbers. A steak might sell for $25, but that didn't mean the restaurant made $25. There was meat, seasoning, labor, rent, utilities, packaging, waste, taxes. Marcus started calculating everything. He became fascinated. The restaurant was basically a giant mathematical puzzle, and Marcus wanted to solve it. 3 years passed. By 24, he wasn't washing dishes anymore. He was a line cook, then a shift leader, then an assistant manager. His income improved, but something else improved even more: his knowledge. One evening, Tony's grill became completely overwhelmed. One cook called in sick. Another employee arrived late. The restaurant was packed. Orders were piling up. The manager was losing control. Marcus watched the kitchen for a few seconds. Then he stepped in. He organized the tickets. He assigned tasks. He helped prepare ingredients. He communicated with the servers. Within 20 minutes, the kitchen began moving again. After the rush, the manager approached him. "Where did you learn to do that?" Marcus smiled. "I've been watching." That answer changed the way the manager saw him. Marcus was given more responsibility, but with responsibility came access to information. He could finally see how much the restaurant was spending. And what he saw shocked him. The restaurant was wasting thousands of dollars in food. Ingredients were being ordered without checking inventory. Employees prepared portions differently. Some dishes were extremely profitable. Others barely made money. Marcus created a proposal. He showed the owner where the restaurant was losing money. The owner wasn't impressed at first. "You think you know better than me?" Marcus shook his head. No, I just think the numbers are telling us something. The owner studied the notebook. Marcus had prepared everything: weekly waste, ingredient cost, average portions, sales by menu item. The owner agreed to try his system. 3 months later, food waste dropped dramatically. Profit increased. Marcus received a raise. But more importantly, he discovered something. He wasn't just good at working in restaurants, he was good at improving them. That was when the dream began. Marcus wanted his own restaurant. At first, it sounded ridiculous. He had no investors, no wealthy family. The morning Marcus Reed opened the doors of his first restaurant, he arrived before sunrise. He unlocked the front door and stepped inside. For a few seconds, he simply stood there. The dining room was empty. The tables were clean. The chairs were perfectly aligned. The kitchen equipment was ready. Everything he had imagined for years was finally in front of him. But Marcus wasn't celebrating. He was nervous because now there was nowhere to hide. The food truck had been difficult, but this was different. A restaurant had rent, employees, utilities, suppliers, insurance, payroll, taxes, and customers who expected everything to be perfect. At 11 in the morning, Marcus opened the doors. For the first 15 minutes, nobody came. Then a couple walked inside. They looked around. "Are you open?" Marcus smiled. "Yes." They sat down. A few minutes later, another customer arrived, then another. By noon, every table was occupied. Marcus walked into the kitchen. "Let's go." The team started working. Orders came in: chicken sandwiches, steak plates, burgers, salads. The kitchen became loud. The dining room became full. Marcus moved between the kitchen and dining room, checking everything. Was the food hot? Were the tables clean? Were customers happy? Was everyone moving fast enough? At the end of the first day, Marcus was exhausted, but he was smiling. They had served more than 100 customers. The restaurant had made money. Not a fortune, but enough. Marcus went home that night and couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about one thing. He had done it. The dishwasher had opened his own restaurant, but the honeymoon didn't last long. By the third week, problems started appearing. One employee quit without notice. Another started arriving late. A supplier delivered the wrong ingredients. One refrigerator stopped working. Then customers started complaining about inconsistent food. One chicken sandwich was perfect. The next was overcooked. One steak was excellent. Another was too salty. Marcus became frustrated. He began working longer hours. He was back in the kitchen every night. He corrected employees. He checked every plate. He inspected every delivery. He started doing everything himself again. Daniel noticed. "You're doing it again." Marcus looked at him. "Doing what?" "Trying to control everything." Marcus shook his head. "If I don't, things go wrong." Daniel looked around the kitchen. "Then you built the wrong system." Marcus didn't like hearing that. But he knew Daniel was right. The restaurant depended too much on Marcus. Every decision went through him. Every problem became his problem. Every mistake became his responsibility. And the harder he worked, the more exhausted he became. Then came the worst week. A major food delivery arrived late. Marcus didn't have enough ingredients for the dinner rush. He tried to improvise. The kitchen fell behind. Customers waited. Some canceled their orders. Others left negative reviews. The next morning, Marcus opened his phone. The reviews were brutal. Terrible service. Waited almost an hour. food wasn't worth the price. Marcus stared at the screen. For a moment, he wanted to close the restaurant. He had worked too hard to watch everything collapse. But then he remembered something. He had already survived worse. He had started with nothing. He had washed dishes. He had been rejected. He had almost lost his food truck. This wasn't the end. It was a problem, and problems could be solved. Marcus spent the next week analyzing everything. He didn't blame the employees. He didn't blame the customers. He didn't blame the suppliers. He looked at the system. He discovered that the restaurant had no backup supplier. There was no clear inventory schedule. Employees were trained differently. Recipes weren't standardized. Nobody had defined responsibilities. Marcus realized his biggest mistake. He had opened a restaurant before building a company, so he started over. He created systems for everything. Every recipe was measured. Every cooking time was documented. Every supplier was evaluated. Every employee received the same training. Every shift had clear responsibilities. Every ingredient was tracked. Every customer complaint was recorded and analyzed. It took months, but slowly the restaurant stabilized. The reviews improved. Customers returned. Sales increased. Marcus finally understood something that would change the direction of his entire career. A successful business couldn't depend on one person, not even the owner. The owner had to build the system, then the system had to build the business. Marcus began hiring people who were smarter than him in specific areas. A professional manager, an experienced chef, someone to handle accounting, someone to manage suppliers. Marcus stopped trying to be the best cook in the restaurant. Instead, he focused on becoming the best leader. That changed everything. Within a year, the restaurant was profitable, then very profitable. Customers were lining up outside. People began asking Marcus when he would open another location. At first, he laughed. "I'm not ready." But eventually, he was. The second location opened 18 months later. This time, Marcus did things differently. He didn't build everything around himself. He created the same training system, the same recipes, the same quality standards, the same customer service philosophy. The second restaurant succeeded faster than the first. Then something unexpected happened. A local investor contacted Marcus. "I've been watching what you're doing." Marcus was cautious. "What do you want?" "I want to invest." Marcus had heard that word before. Investors wanted control. They wanted quick profits. They wanted to change businesses. So Marcus asked one question. "Why me?" The investor answered honestly. "Because you built something that works." That answer mattered. After several meetings, Marcus accepted a small investment. It gave him enough capital to expand. The third restaurant opened in another part of Chicago, then the fourth, then the fifth. Reed's Kitchen became a recognizable local brand. Marcus was no longer standing behind a sink. He was sitting in meetings with investors. He was negotiating leases. He was studying markets. He was training managers. He was building a company. But Marcus refused to forget where he came from. Every restaurant still had one rule. Nobody was too important to help. Managers cleaned tables when necessary. Chefs helped servers. Servers helped the kitchen. And Marcus still occasionally walked into the dishwashing area. Some employees didn't understand why. One young employee asked him, "Why do you keep coming back here?" Marcus smiled. "Because I started here." The employee laughed. You were actually a dishwasher. Marcus nodded. That's where I learned everything. Years passed. The company continued growing. Marcus eventually opened restaurants outside Chicago, then outside Illinois. His brand expanded into several states. He created a training center for employees. He developed a management program. He offered promotions to people who started at entry-level positions. Marcus believed that the best employees weren't always the people with the best resumes. Sometimes they were the people who simply refused to give up. One of those employees was a young man named Elijah. Elijah started working for Reed's kitchen as a dishwasher. He reminded Marcus of himself. Quiet, hardworking, always watching. One night, Marcus saw Elijah standing near the kitchen while the chefs prepared dinner. The young man wasn't supposed to be there. What are you doing? Elijah looked nervous. Watching. Marcus smiled. Watching what? Everything. Marcus remembered himself. Want to learn? Elijah nodded. Marcus pointed toward the prep station. Come here. He showed Elijah how to prepare vegetables, then how to hold a knife, then how to season food,